Hey, what's up, guys? Purpose Driven Life Sports, and I'm back here for another video. So in this one, I'm going to be talking about tonight's playoff matchups and who I think is going to advance, or if we're going to see an extended series, and my predictions. Now, the two matchups tonight are going to be Detroit Pistons versus the Milwaukee Bucks is going to be Game 4, and also Game 4 is going to be the Utah Jazz versus the Houston Rockets. Now, the Pistons and Jazz are at home in this series. So we're in Game 4, like I just said. I fully expect, and I have no doubt, that the Pistons will lose Game 4. I'm pretty sure they've lost all games by at least 15. They lost last game by, I think it was 15 or more. They've just been dominated on the glass. They've been outshot by Milwaukee. Milwaukee's just been playing old tougher than them. Brook Lopez, who I haven't really mentioned in other videos about the Milwaukee Bucks, has been a guy who's just been blocking shots. He's been getting his points easily. He's driving the ball. He's shooting threes very well. He's been that all-around type of guy. Now, for his career, he's not really known as a rebounder, but he's known as a guy who can post up, a guy who can now shoot the three ball very well. So he's actually really impressed me as a guy, along with Giannis and Eric Bledsoe, who's also played extremely well. You got Chris Middleton, who's played pretty well. I think he'll get warmer as the playoffs go on. He hasn't shot exceptionally well, but I think he'll get it going. And then you have Nikola Mirotic, who's getting back into shape, getting back into the game. He's probably still in shape because usually he injured his thumb. He fractured his thumb. When you have a thumb injury, what you're really trying to do is work around and get back to shooting. So he's probably in shape, but he's getting back into that form. But I'm not worried about the Bucks at all. The Pistons have just been out-muscled, they've just been physically dominated. Blake Griffin didn't make anything better, except that he's actually a guy who's strong and can guard Giannis to a certain degree. But what Blake Griffin's just been doing really has just been getting technical fouls. So he really was of no help to Detroit, the other night. So that part to me wasn't really surprising, and that's why I fully expect the Bucks to close out the series tonight and win. I believe they'll probably win by 20. I wouldn't be surprised if they won close, because Detroit wins, there's usually things with pride and teams, going out, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was a closer game, but I still got the Bucks winning. So that's my prediction for that game. Now, I didn't talk to you guys yesterday about the Jazz and Rockets. That's my bad. That game Saturday night was really entertaining, and what I predicted really came true is the Utah Jazz were physical with James Harden, and to me, they got in his head at the beginning of the game with Jay Crowder. You had Joe Ingles. He shot 0 for 15 before he made his first basket, which was a dunk. And I believe that once you got that dunk, once you see, a basket, because free throws, they help to a certain degree, but I think once you see a basket like a two, a dunk, a step-back shot, anything in that nature, you see the ball go through the net, then you have confidence. I think once he got that first dunk, I think that really kind of allowed him to make those next two three-pointers and turn the game on late. Him and Chris Paul, really, that leadership role that Chris Paul has is one reason why I think the Jazz were not able to close out this game. And then the Jazz just weren't able to knock down shots in the second half. In the first half, they were getting open shots. Donovan Mitchell was hot. He was making his shots. Then the second half rolled around, and he was just cold. That's just plain and simple. Joe Ingles has not had a good series. And one key to me was that I didn't talk about much, but that I really believed was if Joe Ingles and Donovan Mitchell are shooting the ball well, if they're both creating, because to me, Joe Ingles is an underrated player for this team. If he's creating and shooting threes well and defending well, because Joe Ingles is also an underrated defender, this is a team that can win games, and that's why they were winning games this year and ultimately won 50 games this year. But he hasn't been able to shoot the ball. The only guy, to me, who's been really serviceable, actually a couple guys, is Ricky Rubio, Royce O'Neal, even though Royce O'Neal the last game shot terribly. Jay Crowder's shooting around 10% for the whole series, so he's not doing any service to the team either. He started the last game. Defensively, they did great until there were 2 fouls on Rudy Gobert that I think really kind of turned the game also in Houston's favor. I didn't like him. I think Rudy Gobert, because he's so good at going straight up, even he goes up one-handed and still blocks shots and he doesn't get fouls called. Those 2 fouls, one might have been actually a foul, but I still don't think I don't think you should have called either of those fouls. Those were a bit questionable in my opinion. But James Harden did step up in those closing moments, and he did make big shots. Donovan Mitchell missed the three that would have tied it and sent it to overtime. The Jazz had so many chances to close this game out, and to me, them not being able to do it is why I think this will be a close game again, because I said this last game would be close, and I wouldn't be surprised if Houston won, but I picked the Jazz to win. I was wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if this game is close, but I'm going to pick Houston to win, because I think after a game like that, and to me, it's the same with Golden State. When you play games that are close and then you come out on top when you're down, or when you've just been having an off night, but you're able to come out with wins, to me, or a controversial loss like Golden State blowing a 31-point lead, to me, you're able to kind of reset, and then you're back into that mode where now you know how to refocus. And to me, that's what Houston got in winning that game. So I'm actually really impressed with how Houston was able to defensively stay in it. Had it not been for their defense, because they weren't making a lot of shots, they would have got blown out. And also, if the Jazz were making shots in the second half, this game could have gone differently. So I'm going to pick the I'm going to pick the Houston Rockets to win this game, but I still think it's going to be close. I think the Jazz did show me something that that teams can use against James Harden, which is you can't be afraid to be physical. And they did a great job with stifling Clint Capella, when he's below the paint. They had a guy who would be back there and made sure that he couldn't get a lot of movement for those lobs. A lot of times he still got lobs, he still got his rebounds, but it wasn't as frequent in the first two games. And that made it so much easier for Rudy Gobert to go up and block a whole bunch of shots on James Harden. So I think a team like Golden State, who I believe will win on Wednesday night, can use that next round against Houston, because it's not impossible. I'm just not sure if when you usually go down 3-0, you don't come back, but it's not impossible. I'm just saying it's unlikely that the Jazz make a whole bunch of adjustments, which is you have to make shots against Houston, or late in games, their leadership, James Harden takes over, Chris Paul's leadership, him knowing game situations takes over, and that's how they win games. But thank you guys for listening. That was my analysis on what tonight's going to be, and I'll see you guys in the next video.